Good morning. If everybody would take their seats, we'll start with our prelude.
Welcome. Repeat to yourself in your mind all the things that I would normally say at this moment if I knew what to say. It seems like it's pretty much the same thing every time, so you've all heard it before, and it's good to know, yes. My name is Reverend, My name is Reverend Darren Utley, and I use he, him pronouns, and it is lovely to be with you here and know that you are welcome here. Delilah is lighting the chalice this morning, so we're going to invite her to come up. Hear these words from Reverend Dr. David Breeden. We tender this flame, opening the book, turning to a page yet to be written, opening a story yet to be told. May we fill this fresh page wisely. May we write a new story into being. May we together inscribe the page with hope. I did choose the hymns this morning, and in some ways I apologize. In some ways I don't. But the first one, a little challenging. There's parts that get a little, that changes a little bit. I think you can make it through. The second one we did last time I was here, and we muddled through, but we promised to do better next time. So, we'll just see what happens. Grace abounds,
And now it's time for the message for all ages, so if all the children and those young at heart can come on forward. So this morning, I'm going to read you the story called Wally and Freya by Lindsay Pointer. And a lot of people here like foxes, don't they? Yeah, we have a lot of fox likers in this group here. Wally, he's over there, was a bully. That's what everybody said. They were sure that hurtful thoughts were all that filled his head. Wally stole lunch every day from Bella Joe the bear, and he always hogged the crayons and then refused to even share. Needless to say, when it was time for the kids to play, Wally's classmates all would holler, "Wally, go away." During recess, kids brought pens and imagination soared. They wrote of pirates, goblins, ghouls, dragons, knights, and lords. Freya, the red fox, wrote the most captivating tales of terrifying monsters with big teeth as sharp as nails. One day, Freya's book of tales simply disappeared. It's lost and gone forever, or so the children feared. Raphael the rabbit spoke up fast to save the day. Wally took the book, he said. Quick, he went that way. Chasing after Wally, they were shocked by what they found. Pages of her book were scattered all across the ground. Freya's words were hidden under Wally's scary doodles of terrifying monsters eating eyes and guts like noodles. They all let out a gasp. "What have you done?" the group exclaimed. Wally ran into the forest looking quite ashamed. But Freya thought twice as she watched young Wally go and followed down the grassy path to where the oak trees grow. Wally was there, hanging his head and kicking the dirt. Freya saw in Wally's eye that both of them felt hurt. "Your drawings are amazing," Freya genuinely said. This made Wally smile, and he slowly turned his head. "Why'd you take my book?" she asked with kindness in her eyes. "I don't know," said Wally, letting out a big long sigh. "I guess I just always wanted to be part of the fun, but you wouldn't understand. You're friends with everyone." "Nobody likes me," Wally said, while looking very sad. "Sometimes I get so sad, and then that sadness makes me mad." He told his new friend Freya about troubles in his home, and he told her how he felt so scared and completely alone. Freya sat and listened, and she let Wally talk on, and by the end of Wally's story, her anger was gone. "I have a fun idea," she said with kindness in her smile, and together they gathered her book's pages in a pile. The next day, the kids gathered by the biggest oak tree. What they found when they arrived was quite the sight to see. Wally's illustrations were all pinned up on the bark, scary drawings of mean monsters and terrible sharks. Freya told a story, and it made them come alive. The monsters were embarking on a dangerous deep-sea dive. When her epic story ended, everybody cheered. They saw Wally was an artist and not to be feared. From that day on, Wally was a member of the crew. The others wrote the stories, and as for Wally, he drew. You see, Freya did something quite special on that fateful day. Instead of striking back, she made sure Wally was okay. There's always much more people than what we can see. Beautiful things happen when we practice empathy. So we often talk about how love is our center of our value, our center value, and then we have things that branch off that, like kindness, right? And all those things help other people, the people around us. If we treat people with love and kindness, then they can be like Wally and learn to be part of the group too. Okay, now it's time for the blessing. Everyone watch Abby. We are blessed. We are blessed by being. We are blessed by being here. We are blessed by being here together.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the rough start this morning. Apparently, I made the silly decision to volunteer for this in December, forgot about it entirely, and I'm still catching up with post-holiday life. So there are many ways we give to the life of the church, including volunteering for things and then not doing them at all. I mean, what a professional Reverend Darren is that I didn't do a thing for this service, and it's all here, ready for you guys, so that's amazing. There are many ways we give to the life of the church, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization and share the money we collect. Our partner this month is the Root River Council, and Marv Letvin, will be here to tell us about that organization.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Marv Letvin, as she said. I'm chair of the Root River Council. The council was founded in 2006, so we're almost 20 years old. And basically, the founders came up with 4 things that they thought were important to the city of Racine and the Root River area. Create a sense of place, stimulate economic growth, improve water quality, and allow public access. And I think in the few minutes I have, we can sort of understand how we're meeting all of those 4 criteria at this point. Last year, we did a video, hired a company from Madison to do a video of the Root River, the pathway, and the parks along the river. And I just want to take you on a journey from the top of the Root River in Racine. This is all in the city of Racine, from basically the Horlick Dam to the lakefront, starting at Colonial Park. I don't know if you've been to Colonial Park, but it's a beautiful park, all forest, all heavy forest, all natural. And what we've done there is sort of improved it with putting in like 10 benches, not plastic, not metal, but benches that are made out of trees, that are made out of tree stumps, so that people can sit and enjoy the river. We also paid for improving the pathway along the river. We also helped pay for kiosks, so now that it's a much more welcoming park. The Parks Department just put new blacktop down, so it's really a nice park just for walking, just for enjoying the ambiance of nature. Moving on from there, you would go through the park, past the Steelhead facility. We also partner with them in fall, and when they have their festival, we're part of, the Root River Council is part of that also. Moving along, you go through Lincoln and basically end up under the Spring Street Bridge and enter Island Park, another beautiful park in the city of Racine. What you have there used to be just baseball. Now, working with the city of Racine and the Parks Department, we have a new dog park. We have new bathrooms. We have a new parking lot. We have a new playground. We have new pickleball courts. We have new tennis courts. So basically, this is partnering with the city of Racine, the Parks Department, helping to improve the life of those that are using the parks. Moving along, you go under the new bridge, the 6th Street Bridge, and we have the Horlick Drive, which gets you to a few more parks. But what we really like to do, and we're talking to Tom Mulbeck, who's the chair of the Parks Department, we want to cut out some parking areas in there, picnic tables, so people can sit there and enjoy the park also. It's sort of it's not used. It's a beautiful, you can sit along the river there and just enjoy the river, and so we're trying to make that more usable. After you leave there, the problem is you come to an area where the pathway is on the city streets. So we're also working with the Parks Department to see if we can get, instead of having the pathway in the back, in front of the houses, in back of these houses, ending up in Clayton Park. Clayton Park is another beautiful park, very unused. It has a kayak launch. It has some playground areas, but the neighborhood needs to be able to use that park more. So we're trying to get more things happening in Clayton Park. Moving on, you pass the rec center where you can rent a kayak or canoe only on the weekends, but that's a place that you can rent. After that, you go behind the factory area there, I'm trying to think, Case IH, whatever the correct name of it is now, and end up basically at the mouth of the harbor and the beach. What we do to improve the lives of the city and have more people using the park, every year we do what's called the Family Fun in Island Park. We bring in music, we bring in people to do face painting, to do balloons, to do all sorts of music and things in the park. We feed 300 people free. This is all free. We bring in Culver's ice cream. Luckily, they donate the ice cream, so we're not paying for it. But we do pay for the music, we pay for all the rest of this. So the neighborhood feels good about the park. So that's in Island Park, the third Saturday of July. In August, we do something called Music in Island Park. What is that? The city brings in that stage on wheels, and we bring in one group, two groups of music. And here again, it's free to the public, start about 3 o'clock until about sundown, and it's just a beautiful setting in Island Park. So those are a couple things we do. What we'd like to see happen this year is better kayak launches. I think the river is such a unknown to most people in Racine. We cross all those bridges downtown. We pay no attention to this beautiful river we have. So we'd like to get more people on the river. Hopefully, we can get the rec center to have 7 days a week, hopefully. But we'd like to pay for having that open more. The kayak launches, more people on the walkways, better signage on the walkway. People, I know it, some of you know it, but people who don't know the walkway, the pathway through this 4.5 miles, we need better signage. So if we can get better signage, I think that the city would be much better off. Sort of sum everything up, I found something that, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read to you because I think it really sums up what the City of Racine is trying to do, what the Parks Department is trying to do, what the Root River Council is trying to do. And it says, our parks and public lands, water and wildlife are vital to our individual and collective well-being. Spending time in nature lowers stress, strengthens health, builds self-esteem, improves economic performance, and creates a stronger community and community ties. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Root River Council.
Part of being in community is sharing our joys and sorrows with one another. You'll have two different opportunities to share a joy or sorrow this morning. If you would like to come forward to the microphone and share a joy or sorrow that's on your heart with the congregation, you can come forward at this time, and then after people have given their spoken joys and sorrows, we'll have people come forward, and if they want to keep their joy or sorrow private or just on their heart, they can come and light a candle. So if you'd like to come forward and do a spoken joy or sorrow, you can come forward at this time. And please remember that this is being streamed online, so it goes out to a wider community than what's in these halls today.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Skapatak. I have both a joy and a sorrow. My joy is that my mother's little sister turned 100 on January 2nd, and all the Wisconsin cousins jumped on planes and went out to gather, including my 103-year-old mother. So the joy was this reunion of cousins who have grown up together to celebrate the two sisters, and both of them rose to the occasion. They were in great form, and it was a really beautiful, beautiful celebration. And of course, the sorrow that follows is the terrible fires that are just, boy, they're less than an hour away from where my cousin lives. So they're in that area. So our heart goes out to all the loss of those families in that area.
I'm Gregory Mason, and I think many of you already know about this concern I'm going to share. I'm going to be having eye surgery this coming week, 2 of them on the same eye back to back. And I'm afraid I might have to be doing this for a while, but I don't know. We'll find out. I have a tear in my retina, and the previous surgery I had in October evidently started a cataract going, so that's going to come out first, and then the other one. So keep me in your thoughts this next week.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Sulke. I have a sorrow and a joy. A sorrow, it was a hard week. My young nephew, who's was going to turn 61 on my birthday, died of pancreatic cancer, and it was a very hard week for me. But it turned around with the joy of my stepson, Jim Zelke, playing and performing last night. And then, of course, my dear friend, Marv Letvin, who came to speak about the Root River Council. And Melissa Warner and I are on the Root River Council. And it is really a joy to be on it. And we'd love to have more board members or more interested. So talk to Marv after in coffee hour. He'll bring you joy and inspiration. Because we want to turn Racine into the San Antonio of Wisconsin. We want it to be that famous. Thank you.
And if you'd like to light a candle, you may come forward at this time. You're invited now to join us in singing There Is a Love. The words are in your order of service.
Just in case. Hello. It's good to be with all of you again. This month of January, the theme out in the UU world is story. And I have a couple of readings for you, interspersed with some comments maybe, you know. The first one is pretty short, and it does come from Adrienne Marie Brown, and it actually is taken from a short video that she does in conversation with some folks about her fiction book, Grievers. So commend the book to you. I haven't read it all, but I've read parts of it. She's a good writer overall. And then this conversation was pretty good as well. It's on YouTube. If you put Adrienne Marie Brown and Grievers, you'll find it, I'm sure. But I'm just going to read just one or two lines from it. She says, "I want to see lots of people who are up to movement work also writing the stories of the future. And so I've been driven back to the spiritual realm more in this period, in the sense that I don't think it's enough to have a great case or a great set of information." What she goes on to say is basically we need more than the facts, more than the data. We need to present it in stories. And she's a big Octavia Butler fan, so if you that's the line that she's thinking within. And then secondly, if you look at the cover of the bulletin this week, I put just the cover of a book. It's the cover of Eve Ensler's Electric Arches. It's a small book of poetry. It came out, I think it's from Haymarket, which is down in Chicago. You may know the history of Haymarket. If not, you can read that too. But it's a lovely little book of poetry. It's pretty short. And so I want to read from the introduction of that. She says, "This book is about my life and maybe also your life. And it's about the places we invent. Every story in it is absolutely true. Some of the stories are from the past and some are from the future. In the future, every child in Chicago has food and a safe place to sleep, and mothers laugh all day and eat popsicles. Every 4th of July, there are big fireworks, and no one shoots a gun, not even police, because there are no police. And when you go downtown and look up at the sky, the electric arches stretch so far toward heaven that you feel like you might be the smallest and most important thing ever to be born." she has a wonderful way in the rest of the poems to cast a vision of the present, to incorporate the best of the past, and to cast out into the future a story of what she believes is absolutely true about the world, even though it may not be exactly what she encounters every day when she walks around the town. Or city, really. We had this debate before about the town hall and the city hall, right? Chicago's definitely a much bigger city. But I also want to read one part of a poem. She has a poem called The Arrival, which is about the arrival of the moon people. And the moon people come down to set some things right. And this is a little part of that part of the moon people. So, if you don't have to shut your eyes, but, you get ready to imagine the moon people coming. So they had no words for the moon people when they did come, and the moon people could not be captured. Camera lenses looking on them turned to salt and cast white trails across the eyelids of the looker. And the moon people were dressed in every color. They wore saffron yellow and cool cigarette green and Georgia clay red, and they wore violet. They wore violet, and they were loud as their hands worked, hammering the iron of the jail cell doors into lovely rock curls and bicycle chains, smashing the fare boxes at the train stations into wind chimes, and bowing low to the passengers as they entered, some sashaying through the turnstiles, some dropping it low as they went underneath. They sang. The moon people had been listening all this time, and they knew all about Sam Cooke and Aretha Franklin and Mahalia Jackson and Marvin Gaye and Missy Elliott, and they sang while they smashed a bottle on the squad cars, a Hennessy bottle or a Coke or a pressed kale juice, whatever was near enough to say, "This here is christened a new thing." And they drove them down my street and your street and your street, the tires painted to look like vinyl 45s, and the children tied yarn and ribbons to the windshield wipers, and the moon people turned them on high, so that as they drove, the colors waved in the sunlight, which was now streaming so clearly. The moon people come. The moon people make new things possible. They change the things that limit the world that could be. The stories we tell, the things that seem fanciful, the moon people seem like it could never happen. But we need the stories. We need to tell stories that shape things differently. I don't know, I know that some of you were at the dedication of the statue, the new statue that was given by the Potawatomi down by the lake. And thinking about the Root River this morning. You know, when I was down there at that dedication and listening to the drums and listening to people singing, I thought to myself, you know, looking out over the lake, watching the birds fly by, think of all the stories that were told to care for this place, to sustain it, the way that the river was kept to feed people, the way the lake was kept. And the stories, we don't know stories anymore because our ancestors came and we didn't understand the language of their stories. So we didn't listen. Came up with our own stories. And that's the stories that have shaped the way the river winds, what's been thrown into the lake, why we don't have time to sit by the water. But in the end, it's just stories. We can all begin to tell different ones. We can all begin to say to each other the things that we value and the way that we want our world to look. I was watching, something that came up on YouTube the other day, and I don't know how I got to it. I mean, it seems quite random now that I think about it. But it was about private equity firms. Exciting stuff. But they were saying how, there was a time whenever these firms would take over big companies that were not doing too well. And they would invest money and, strip things down, get it going, and then they would sell it again. And that was a good story of, fixing and making right in some people's mind. But now what's happened is that we have private equity folks taking over hospitals and taking over housing. And they tell us a story that those things, healthcare, are very survival and are places to live. If we just let them maximize the profit, that's going to make everything all right. And then when it doesn't work out, they sell it to another private equity firm that does the same thing, and it goes on and on and on. And I think about the stories that we have allowed ourselves to be told about what our care for each other should look like. It's incredible. I mean, talk about a moon people story. There's a moon people story, the idea that if we allow profit to dictate how people are cared for, that's going to equal the best care that we can give each other. Imagine if you tried to explain that when you came over on the boat. Hey, look, I know you guys got some good stories about how things work, but listen, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to try to make the most money possible, and that'll mean that all the rivers will be clean and all the people will be cared for, and it's a crazy... We live in a world of moon people stories, but on the wrong side. So we have to begin again. I want to show you one of the ways that the Electric Arches book is formatted. You can see that there's a lot of places where the poems are just written in regular type, they're typed out. But then the end of the type comes and there's a little handwritten section that finishes the poem. And I think it's important because it's saying, look, this is how we live our lives. We get to the place where the type ends and we don't look at the blank page as anything but a blank page. But we could be writing the rest of the story. I want to read you this one because I like it. I don't know how well it fits in. It's called Four Boys on Ellis, a retelling. As I was getting into my car, I saw the lights flashing and the 4 of them sitting on the curb. CPD stood over them and the university police were looking on. I drove up and pulled alongside and asked what was going on, if their parents had been called and informed that they were being questioned. Their heads were down. One officer told me that the youngest was 9 years old. He said they were suspected of stealing a phone. I asked if they were being arrested or if it was legal protocol to interrogate them without their adult present. Another officer began to yell at me, standing next to my car and shouting through my window. He told me to leave. I would not. That's where the text ends. I put my car in park and closed my eyes. I concentrated very hard, picturing the boys at home, eating cereal and watching Naruto. When I opened them, the police were shouting and jumping into the air, grasping at the boys' shoelaces as they drifted upward into the clear night. Their bikes went up too, and they managed to climb atop them midair, which was impressive. They seemed to have forgotten the police and didn't notice me, only looking at each other and smiling and singing as they flew. Now, I know, it's a fanciful ending. Doesn't seem realistic. But we have to do something with the blank side of the page. If we let our story just go on the way it is, we're so limited. There's so much more. So many more ways that we could care for our watershed. So many more ways we could care for each other. So many more lives that need to be liberated and freed from the stories that hold them down. So take up your pen, take up your life. Don't let the story end. Keep writing, keep talking, keep working. Wear your Georgia Clay red, cool cigarette. Anybody remember cool cigarette green? That draws attention. Be yourselves. Be the future that you want to see. What do we say? I can say amen. I'll say amen. Think of another, yeah. I always forget what we do next. We sing? What? Yes. Okay, remember, this is, upbeat. It's, oh, Brian's going to.
All right, as you rise for 1017, Building a New Way, let's reflect on what Pastor Darren has said about their future being unwritten. We have this opportunity to build that new way. Building things takes work, so we're working for that future. As we work, we get hungry, so we feed ourselves and everybody we need, and through that, we are doing this with peace and freedom. Here we go. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, living stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. That is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
He's pretty good. The most, besides just eating and drinking, we have been gathering around fires and telling each other stories for long, long, long before any of us could ever imagine. So telling the stories of the future is really the simplest thing. We've been doing it forever. So even though this flame is extinguished, go out, gather around food, gather around another flame, tell each other stories. That's a pretty good benediction too, I think. Get ready to clap again.
Thank you, Alejandro. I just love the music you play. Now it's time for announcements, and I want to just start out to remind people that the reason we are doing announcements at the end of the service is to give the children more time in religious education with Leanne. And Jen?
Hi, everybody. I know many of you guys were with us last week when we went down to Bradford to hear Liz James from the UU Hysterical Society. And so I loved that service that she gave and immediately got home and sent her a friend request on Facebook, like you do. And like almost immediately after she visited us, she had posted on her own page that the UU Hysterical Society is on the threshold of closing. And it basically just has to do with algorithms and Facebook. Normally, they've put out a request, when things start getting a little light, they put out a request. People show up in droves to support them. They get the help they need. They keep going. Right now, with the way the algorithms are going, anytime you're putting out something that's fundraising, it just immediately drops all of your contacts. So they just wanted us to, in congregations, if we value what they do and the work they're doing, which is important, it's an entry place for many, many people into Unitarian Universalism. If we support them and we want them to keep going, we need to support them financially as well. So you can go on to uuhystericalsociety.com, and I'll put this on our Facebook group as well. Just send them a couple bucks, and it helps keep the doors open and keeps them doing what they're doing, and it's important work that we can do to support them. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jen. Just want to remind everyone that our mailing address for Olympia Brown has changed to a post office box. It's OBUUC, Post Office Box 5, Racine. All the details are in the email. If you need to reference the monthly Unifier email, there is a link in each Sunday's email that will take you to it. The deadline for paper raise right orders is today. There are new forms, so if you need one, see me. The History Committee has unearthed OBUUC cookbooks from 2008. We are offering them on the South Table in Erman Hall. They are $5 each, 2 for $8, or your best donation. There are plenty to go around and would make a great gift for any occasion. A number of upcoming dates to keep in mind. January 17th, Glow Party from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Join us for a black light fun night and snack or dessert potluck. There will be games, fun, and food. Wear white or neon colors so you glow and bring a snack or dessert to share. Beginning January 19th, we have been invited to once again partner in living our value of generosity by helping make and sell pizzas with First Presbyterian Church. The First Pres congregation has been supporting a community in Cuba since 2015. Stop at the table in Erman Hall to place an order and purchase pizza. Take a pizza seller's form, sign up to make pizzas February 18th at the DeKoven Kitchen, or make a financial donation to the Cuba Partnership. This activity not only benefits the people in Matanzas in Cuba, but also supports the teaching kitchen at the DeKoven Center. This is an all-ages event. Contact Ruth Bradford Johnson for further information. And Reverend Darren, would you like to say something about your partnership?
So just real quickly, we do support, we have a sister church down in Cuba, but the church itself also has like a senior program. They invite a lot of folks from Matanzas area, which is, Matanzas is like the second largest city in Cuba. It's just a little outside of Havana. But and they also have a great youth program where they do some education as well. So it's a great partnership. Just on a broader note, I would just like you to know that the people in Cuba right now are going through a very difficult time and have been for a while. Unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with a story that we tell ourselves about socialism, and the fact that for over 60 years, we have embargoed Cuba in many, many different ways, and just in the last number of years, they were put back on the state sponsor of terrorism list, which increases even more the sanctions and the stringency around what can get in and out of there and how they can live. And it's been a it's been a very difficult time. One thing I would say is, there's an way outside chance that our current president, Biden, might take them off the state sponsor of terror list. Hasn't done it yet, but if you go to Let Cuba Live, it's easy to remember, Let Cuba Live, there's information about how to send some letters or send some information. So I do encourage you to do that. If you have any other questions about that, I'll be in there. You can ask me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to steal another second to tell you that on this Thursday at 7 o'clock, we're having a program here with Elizabeth Bronson, who's from Parkside. She's going to speak to us about the groups of folks known as the Axis of Resistance, at least part one. So she'll be speaking about the history of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, all the, scary people out there that you don't know much about, but you know to be afraid. So you can come and learn more about that Thursday at 7 o'clock, probably in the chapel. And then, no, I'm just joking.
Thank you, Reverend Darren. Ed, why don't you come up and share your announcement?
Hello. This is not, a regular church announcement, but does pertain to a church member. I'm looking for someone who would be able to give Brandon Campbell a ride home from work this next Tuesday. I usually do that, but I'm having some surgery tomorrow and may not be able to do that. So if someone is willing to do that, please see me after the service.
Thank you, Ed. January 26th is the deadline to sign up to be a Mystery Valentine. Children will be secretly paired with adults at OBUUC, and you, the Mystery Valentine, place notes, treats, or small treasures in a special Valentine collection spot in the First Presbyterian lobby throughout the month of February. If you participate, you must be able to place a small treat that costs roughly $2 in the spot assigned to the child you're paired with before the service during the 4 Sundays of February. To sign up, fill out a form, locate it over there, and drop it in the collection box on the same table, or put it in that red box there. January 25th is the deadline to get news into the February Unifier. January 28th, 7 p.m., Good Trouble Congregation Virtual Celebration. February 3rd, Endowment Grant Application Deadline. February 7th, 6 p.m., Warm Hearts, Hot Chili, and Soup Thank You Dinner. For more information and details about some of these announcements, along with others and community announcements, see your monthly and Sunday emails. I'd like to thank our volunteers today, our ushers, Christina Mondragon, I always say it wrong, Mondragon, and Joe Cushing, our Zoom host, Mary Graham, our coffee hour hosts, Rachel Troba and Wendy McKelvey, and Mike Rood, who's helping out today. He's kind of learning the ropes of what I'm doing because I'm not going to be here next Sunday. So I'd really like to thank him for putting in all that extra time to do that. Thank you, Mike. That's all for announcements today. Please stay for coffee hour. For those on YouTube, log into Zoom for your coffee hour. The link is in today's email.